LeBron James opens up about how much longer he wants to play in the NBA. No, Baker Mayfield has not taken the Rams quarterback gig. And Drake, that guy, he gets a little pissy over Clippers social media. Good morning, I'm James. This is your daily dose of sports and snark for the greatest sports city in the world, Los Angeles. This is the faithful Angelenos morning report. I am back at Ice Station Bravo up in Alaska, miserable for every moment. I am in a room next to the Lodge of the Giggling All-Night Stoner. It's actually very friendly up here. You might not be able to make a friend with a moose. You might not be able to saddle up on a bear, but there are plenty of stoners here. So in that case, it's a lot like home. But let's talk LA sports. If you like the content that we put out about LA sports, clickety-clack the like button. Clickety-clack the subscribe button. There's a notifications bell. Hit that. It'll let you know when we drop new content. Sharing is caring. Let people know we exist. And yeah, comment. It might be funny. The stoners next door might love it too. Now, before we go through the news and notes, looking at the scoreboard, the Heat, they took out the Lakers 112-98. This was kind of expected. Anytime NBA teams play back-to-back nights, the second game is always, you can almost bank on it being a loss. LA committed 26 turnovers. Meanwhile, today, the Clippers are in Boston. They'll take on the Celtics at 4:30. Don't look now, but the Clippers actually lead the Pacific Division. Now, nobody really pays attention to divisional races, but they lead it by a game over Phoenix, 3 over Golden State. And the Kings are in Colorado at 6. Here's a surprise. The Kings actually have a better record than the defending Stanley Cup champs. So, mentioned the Lakers were in Miami last night. That's obviously LeBron James' old-timey stomping grounds, so he has some familiarity with the scribes. They all gather around to hear King James speaketh. You know, they have history with the guy. And of course, one of the questions was, how much longer can he continue to play? Because after all, LeBron's about to pass Kareem Abdul-Jabbar to become the league's all-time leading scorer. Dennis Schrader apparently told somebody that LeBron confided in him that he was going to play until he's 45. So what he said in response, I don't have a number of years that he can continue to play. As long as my mind stays in it, I can play at this level for a minute. It's up to my mind. My body is going to be okay because if my mind is into it, I'll make sure my body is taken care of and I'll continue to put into work. Here's where it got a little bit interesting. Quote, playing basketball at this level just to be playing basketball is not in my DNA. It's not my DNA anymore. We'll see what happens and see how fresh my mind stays. Now, this matters. And it's nothing necessarily to panic over because these comments are not unfair. The man is about to become 38 years old. After a while, you got to expect that the guy's got to have some sort of enthusiasms outside of the game, wouldn't you say? I would also add that it might be a veiled shot at the Lakers front office. Not even necessarily in a mean way, just in an honest way. I mean, there have been times where LeBron has been accused of basically trying to be a de facto general manager. I don't think this is one of those times. I think he's just basically saying, look, I've been with the Lakers now. This is going to be my 5th year, and I'm going to possibly miss the playoffs for 3 of those years. I don't think those quotes are unfair at all. Meanwhile, also for the Lakers, Michael Cooper, the 6th man for the Showtime era Lakers, along with Pau Gasol and former coach Paul Westhead, have all been nominated to be enshrined in the Basketball Hall of Fame. Cooper is the name that I have my eye on. He won 5 titles for LA in the 1980s, and he was named the Defensive Player of the Year for 1987. He also won 2 WNBA titles as the coach of the LA Sparks. So that would actually be a nice sort of crossover sort of nomination. And frankly, the Showtime era Lakers were the team that got me to love that team even during the Lonzo Ball era of Laker basketball. You just don't break a bond like that if you're a Laker fan. Michael Cooper, anything that references the Showtime Lakers, I'm in. Multiple NFL scribes, multiple analysts, such as, say, Sports Illustrated and NBC's Peter King, they are saying that Baker Mayfield has to stay with the Rams because he looks so comfortable in the offense. He just has to stay. No, he doesn't. And we're going to get to that. The other guy, for example, he won a Super Bowl with the Rams. Remember him, right? You don't like ticker tape? Is that it? Too much of a pain in the ass to clean that up off of the turf at SoFi Stadium? You would rather just like kind of cruise along and get a win once every few weeks? Look, the Rams brought him in Baker Mayfield with a plan. And according to the people who cover the team on a regular basis, the people who actually cover the team, the plan with Baker Mayfield has not deviated. They signed Mayfield to pump up his value because they knew that he was a better option than the other backup quarterbacks that they had. The plan is because Mayfield will go into free agency. If he signs with somebody else, he can be flipped for a compensation draft pick, which therefore would be used to help replenish the roster. That plan, according to the people who cover the Rams, has not changed. Baker Mayfield is using the Rams to pump up his own value in free agency, and the Rams are using him for a draft pick. Straight and simple. It would be very surprising to see Mayfield in a Rams jersey next year. And by the way, it's actually a good idea, because if there's one thing that we have seen from the Rams backup quarterbacks, there is a significant drop-off from Matthew Stafford. By the way, if you want a rough sketch of the Rams offseason, just from my own perspective, I would expect 3 new starters on the offensive line, drafting a better backup to Matthew Stafford, drafting a running back to back up Cam Akers, because Cam Akers will be going into a contract year, and probably figuring out how to move on from Allen Robinson. That's just my sketch, if you will. Somewhat surprising, the suspensions for LA offensive lineman Oday Obushi and Denver quitter Randy Gregory, both of the suspensions of 1 game, were overturned by the NFL yesterday. You might have seen the punch. Gregory was trying so hard to get benched, his master plan wasn't working out, so he sucker punched Obushi in the face mask after the game. Both will pay a fine instead. Now, Gregory apologized for the incident and said it, quote, didn't reflect his character, unquote. Now, failing drug tests, that could be said to be in his character. But punching a guy in the face mask, not so much. Not so much. The Clippers went up to Toronto. You remember when Toronto was championship level and everybody couldn't stop putting the camera on Drake? Yeah. By the way, much like Justin Bieber, I couldn't tell you the name of a single Drake song. All I know about Drake is he raps about maple syrup and he goes to Raptors games. That's all I know about Drake. Couldn't tell you a name of his song. So Drake, representing the urban jungle that is Toronto, he got offended when the Clippers tweeted a photo of him, referring to him as, quote, a fan, unquote. In other words, I don't know, here's Norman Powell hanging with a fan. And of course, everybody knew it was Drake. Drake got offended at that. He told the Clippers to go win a ring as a response to the social media posts. Now, there are 2 types of responses to what Drake said. The hip-hop press thought it was a sick burn, yo. And I'm sitting there going, that's weak sauce, bro. I mean, there are so many things that you could clown the Clippers for, that winning a ring is probably number 26. It's not that big a deal. By the way, look, dude, Drake. First of all, you are a fan. There was nothing factually inaccurate as to referring to you as a fan. It's a joke. Number 2, Drake, you didn't win a ring either. You weren't on the court. You didn't post up Klay Thompson. You didn't put a spin move on him and the guy's knee went snap and he went out for the rest of the finals. That wasn't you. You didn't win the ring. Third, again, so much to talk about when it comes to the Clippers if you wanted to. You know, you could talk about Clipper Darrell getting knocked the F out in a game a couple of weeks ago. Steve Ballmer is a pretty goofy looking dude. He seems like a nice guy, but there's plenty of humor to be had in his look. Oh, and yeah, the racism. There's always racism to talk about when it comes to the Clippers history. So telling them to win a ring? Whatever, dude. Whatever. Just because you didn't get name dropped on social media, take a joke. It's not that big of a deal. 3 weeks of football is not exactly a large sample size. I get that. But if you are a Chargers fan, I would say that the Bolts defense is playing like one of the best defensive units in football all of a sudden. You could basically say maybe they figured out what Brandon Staley was trying to accomplish. There have been stories that Kyle Van Noy has become their de facto leader. Now, in that 3 weeks, they have yet to allow more than 17 points. By the way, could continue for 2 more because they're playing the Rams and the Broncos in the final 2 weeks of the regular season. But they're also doing something that they haven't done all year long. They're getting off the field on third down. In the last 3 weeks, the defense is number 1 in fewest third down conversions. They get off the field now. They're also getting to the quarterback. Remember, they sacked Indianapolis quarterback 7 times on Monday. And it also makes you wonder about the return of Joey Bosa, if that's actually going to be that much more of an impact. If you're already getting 7 sacks. But we have no update, by the way, on Joey Bosa. So there is that. USC's Colin Mobley has entered the transfer portal. The defensive lineman, however, did not play last year, so it's not much of a needle mover. He only had 15 snaps the year before that. Transfer windows in European soccer leagues are opening in January. That's not too far away. And I bring that up because if you are an LAFC fan, remember, midfielder Jose Cifuentes' name is going to get thrown around a lot. The Ecuadorian, he's been linked to Brighton and Hove Albion in the Premier League. Now, the guy was a linchpin in the center of LA's formation. He only had 7 goals last year, which doesn't sound like much, but that's the equivalent to 7 Kevin Cabrals, so I get that. The point being, he wasn't lighting up the scoreboard like a Carlos Vela, but he is going to be a hot property because he created a lot of chances for LAFC's forwards. But you let me know what you think in the comments thread. Let me know what you think about Drake. Tell me the name of a Drake song. It's not like I'm going to be listening to it today. Tell me what you think about Baker Mayfield, or how much longer you would imagine LeBron James can play. And if you enjoyed this content, don't forget to subscribe to Faithful Angelenos. We talk LA sports here every single day. Thank you for watching. I'm James. We'll be back tomorrow. Faithful Angelenos is a Kian Corte El Queso production. Take care.